What's going on, everybody? Zach back here with our 100th episode of Clutch Crew Sports. So, this is a special landmark episode, 100 episodes in, and we're going to be doing a Q&A part 2, episode 50. We did our first Q&A. We asked each other questions. We're doing the same thing again here. A little bit different style, but it's still going to be a lot of fun to do. So, I can't wait to do this with all you guys, and I'll introduce you to the rest of the crew.
What's up, y'all? This is Eric, your ranting co-host, but there will be no rants tonight because I'm just excited to be here for this 100th episode and to celebrate that we've made it so far. I'm really excited for this episode.
What's up, guys? It is Connor, the co-host with the most, and yeah, I'm super excited for this episode too. I know we've done a lot of stuff on this show, and I know one of our favorite episodes in the past was our 50th episode, so I'm excited that we're kind of doing the 100th in a similar format, maybe just a little bit expanded. So I'm excited to, you know, once it's always cool to learn new things about these guys that you never knew before. So I'm really excited for this episode.
What's up, guys? It's Nate here. Like the other guys said, I'm excited for this episode. Can't believe it's already been 100. So I think it'll be a lot of fun to talk about a little bit of different stuff tonight. So I'm excited to get going.
For sure. And I've been in 99 of them. There's one of
That's right. You missed that one that Eric and I did solo.
I know. Part of me regrets that now. Like, we should have just canceled so I could have my perfect streak.
Look, nobody cares about perfect attendance.
Don't worry. I'm sure there will probably be at least one situation in the future where you have to miss an episode too. So
yeah, seriously. But yeah. So you've heard my voice in almost every episode, and basically every other episode you've heard my three co-host voice as well. But we wanted to start off the Q&A with some fan questions, and we got a couple of responses from Twitter. I think a lot of people had some misunderstanding with my tweet, so I think that caused a little bit of a problem. But the first question we had submitted for us was, who is your second favorite NFL team? And I'll start that off, and I'll go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, baby. Let's go.
Tampa Bay, wow.
Yeah, they're my NFC team. The Jags, we don't know how they're going to be doing this year, but the Buccaneers are supposed to be good. So when the playoffs start, that's who I'll be going for. Eric, what about you?
So I'm like tied on second and third. I'm a Cowboys fan because of my fiance. Definitely know what they say, happy wife, happy life. You guys will understand this when you get to that situation. I definitely was not a fan of them beforehand, but
I know you betrayed us.
They have grown on me. And so I'm cool with them. And then I also, as long as Drew Brees is playing, he may not be much longer, but I do like the Saints because of him. He's my personal favorite player, so I do root for the Saints as well.
Well, I guess mine is it's good. I guess this will make a lot of our other fans happy since we have a lot of Carolina Panthers fans that listen to this podcast. The Panthers are my second favorite team. I mean, the Steelers have been my team since I was a kid, but being from North Carolina, I got to root for the hometown team too. So, and kind of like Zach with Tampa being his NFC team, the Panthers are definitely my NFC team, while the Steelers are my AFC team. So, lots of love for the Panthers. I remember watching them in the Super Bowl the first time when I was a little kid, back with Jake Delhomme and Steve Smith and them. So I know they're rebuilding this year, but hopefully they can get back on the right track in the future.
All right, Nate, what about you?
And then I know we've kind of talked about this before, but my second favorite team's got to be the Jaguars. I'm just living in Jacksonville. They haven't been very great, obviously, since I've lived here, but Zach and I have been to all kinds of training camp practices and games and stuff, so just watching every week is something fun to do as well. So that's going to be my number 2 team after the Pats.
Yeah, it definitely helps that your either favorite or second favorite team is a local team, so that way you get to see all their games all the year round. So we have a second question here. I'll let Connor take this question. It's a hockey question, so we defer to Connor on this. Connor, read the question and give us your best judgment.
Okay, so the question was, will a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup this year for the first time since 1993? I probably could have given a bit more of a better answer to this before the playoffs started if it had been asked, but since the playoffs have already started, I'll probably say no for the time being because the Canadiens, I think it was a fluke that they managed to get past the Penguins in the play-in rounds, and then also with the Canucks, they're going up against the defending Stanley Cup champions right now, so I don't see them getting past this round either. The only team I could feasibly see maybe doing that is the Flames, but I just think there's too much other talent. Like, there's too many other better teams in the Western Conference for the Flames to get there. So I'm going to say no, and the drought's going to continue for the Canadian teams.
All right. Sorry, Canada.
Well,
we do actually.
They got an NBA championship last season.
They did. And we shout out to all of our Canadian listeners. We actually have some Canadian listeners from around the country. So thank you guys for listening in. We mostly talk American sports, but appreciate your listenership. All right. So we'll start off now with my questions. And I'll be asking a question, a sports related and a non-sports related question to each of these guys. But I'm going to start with the sports ones. Eric, my first question to you is, what's on the very top of your sports bucket list?
So I have two things in particular that I'm wanting to do. One of them, though, obviously the right scenario has to play out in order for this to happen. But one thing I would just absolutely love to do would be, if the Jaguars were to ever be in a Super Bowl, would be to go to that game wherever it's being played at. I would love to be able to do that one day, but obviously the Jaguars have to get to the Super Bowl in order for that to happen. But something else that I want to do is just that I've thought about over the years. I would love to visit every NFL stadium before I pass away. So I'm living in Jacksonville. I've been to the Jags, and I've been in the Cowboys Stadium now, which unfortunately Jaguars got whipped that game against them, but it was cool to see it. And then I've driven. I haven't been in it. I've driven by the Buccaneers Stadium, and I've driven by the Texans stadiums. I haven't been in it to a game, either of those, but I've at least seen them and taken pictures of them and stuff like that. But yeah, that's something that as I get older, I hope to be able to do a lot more of. I'd love to see every NFL stadium.
So this, after your retirement, you're going to get in an RV and just drive around to following Jaguars games?
Pretty much.
Very cool.
Yeah, I would love to do that. That would be pretty awesome.
Cool.
That'd be like an 8-year endeavor if you wanted to go see the Jaguars every time, though, because, depending on home and away games.
It wouldn't have to be the Jaguars every time, but just to see them, regardless of who's playing, would be cool enough for me. But if the Jags were playing, it'd be an even bigger bonus. But yeah, that's something I hope to do one day.
Cool. So Connor, I want to ask you a question here. I want you to rank who you'd want to see next win a championship first between the Carolina Hurricanes, Pittsburgh Steelers, Charlotte Hornets, and UNC football and basketball teams. So these are all, I know, your favorites, but let's see which ones really are your favorites of your favorites.
The favorites.
Well, right. Well, I guess this was actually kind of tough for me, but definitely probably the Steelers first. I'd want to see them win another Super Bowl. Probably more so because of the fact that, New England just recently tied us for the most Super Bowl titles, so it's like, okay, got to go win another one. And I'd love to see Roethlisberger win another one before he retires. That's another thing that's probably influencing me. So Steelers first. Second of all would probably want to be the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm a big hockey fan, and I remember watching them win the Stanley Cup the first time. Also because, I guess it's along with the Hornets, this would be the easiest one for me to go and see if they were in the championship, because it's a 7-game series, and they host, if they're the they're gonna host at least 3 games at their home arena, so I can go and see those. And who knows, maybe I'll get lucky and I'll go there on the time that they win. Hopefully, they would actually win when they're at home, because obviously there's the chance that they'll win when they're on the road. But hopefully, although I know all the Hurricanes fans were happy last time that Game 7 was in Raleigh, so they got to actually see the Hurricanes hoist the trophy in Raleigh, so that was pretty special. Third would probably be. Third's a tough one, but I guess it would probably be the UNC football. UNC football, they've never really had a lot of success. It's probably actually tied between UNC football and the Charlotte Hornets, just because neither of them have ever won. Like, the Hornets have never won an NBA championship. UNC football has never won they've never won a national championship. The reason why I probably put them lower, because you would think that, the teams that have never won before, I'd want to see win their first one, but just probably because I'm not as into those sports as I am the NFL and the NHL are my 2 favorite sports. So, like, college football and the NBA especially, but college football kind of take a back seat to those for me. So that's probably why they're 3rd and 4th. And then UNC basketball would be last, just because they've had so much success. Like, obviously, I wouldn't be upset if they won again, but they've had so much success already, and they just won like a couple of years ago too, so it's still pretty fresh in my mind. So that would be where I would rank them 1 through 5, I guess.
All right, interesting list there from Connor. Now my question for Nate is, you've been pretty lucky with your NFL team, the Patriots, winning a lot of Super Bowls. So out of the Super Bowl wins that they've had, I want you to rank them from your favorite to least favorite for you personally.
All right, so for me personally, I think number 1's pretty obvious. I would say the Super Bowl versus the Falcons got to be number 1. Obviously, the most crazy comeback, one of the most crazy comebacks in all of sports, and to do it in the Super Bowl was just insane. So that's got to be my first pick. Second, it's kind of tough because the first 3 I was like 5 when the 2004 one happened, so I don't really have a whole lot of memories from those. So I'm gonna give some bias to the more recent ones. So my second favorite's got to be the one versus Seahawks. That was another crazy game. Picked by Malcolm Butler is probably one of my favorite sports memories. So that's my second favorite. And then third, gotta go with the first one just because I wasn't around to watch the game, but definitely a huge moment for the franchise. Number 4. I would say 4th, probably the 2004 versus the Eagles. They won it in Jacksonville, which is pretty cool. Little coincidence there, and just another great game for the Pats. And then 5th, I'm gonna go with the Super Bowl versus the Rams 2 years ago. A lot of people didn't like that game. Just not a lot happened in it scoring wise, but probably one of the better Pats teams, I think, in recent memory. So I'm glad they were able to pull it off at the end after losing to the Eagles the year before. And then last place, not that it was a bad game, but the second Super Bowl win in 2003. I was too young to watch the game. Don't really have a whole lot of memories from it, so kind of the forgotten one, I guess you could say. But they're all obviously awesome to have any Super Bowl wins for your team. So
pretty nice to say that you have a forgotten Super Bowl too. I'm crying right now.
Poor Zach and Eric over here.
Yeah, we would just love to get one,
or even just go to one.
Jeez, guys, I didn't know it was gonna be a bash the Jaguars kind of night, but okay. All right. So that's the first half of my questions, and now we're gonna go hear some of Eric's questions.
Yeah. So for my first set of questions, I'm going to be asking all 3 of you guys the same question here. You 3 are the guys in the panel that are all attending college right now. So I just wanted to ask, once you graduate college, what's your plan? Do you have a particular career in mind or something you want to do right away? So what are your future plans after graduation? I guess, Zach, we'll start with you.
Okay, yeah, I'll start first. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm in college right now as a senior for environmental science and policy at USF. And to be honest, I mean, it's really a broad major to be in. I mean, you cover courses anything from climate change to hydrology to geology and maps and everything in between. So it's there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of options. I've definitely gone through a bunch of different possibilities in my head of what I wanted to do, and unfortunately, really the COVID situation has made things a lot more difficult to find jobs after college. So I would honestly be fine with getting into any entry level environmental science uh, type of position. Consulting is a big thing in the business. I'm not really set on private or public sector. It could be either or for me. But something I guess more specific to answer this question that I'm going to be doing this semester is I'm going to be part of a research group at the university, which is going to be looking at data from St. Lucie County in Florida and looking at how their wetlands have been lost over the past 50 years. So basically, for that, it's a lot of map analysis with GIS mapping, which I'm nobody really is probably going to understand what all that is, but it's a lot of sophisticated mapping work that has to be done for that to identify where were the wetlands 50 years ago, where are they now, using satellite imagery, of course, to help with that. And then basically after that, it's like, well, okay, what do you do next? How do you mitigate this? How do we restore the damage that we've done? Because the Indian River region of Florida is doing pretty bad right now with seagrass loss. So there's a lot of potential, obviously, for what I would work in, but that's something that was presented to me, and I took the offer for that. So I'm hoping that goes well this year, and then maybe after that, I'll have some experience in that field and possibly find a job related to that. So that's my answer. I'll let Connor give his.
Yeah, so I guess I'll give background on what I'm going to college for. I'm a senior. I'm going to be graduating in December this year with a major in political science with a concentration in American politics and a minor in statistics. So I guess if I want to, I'm kind of the same way as Zach. Like this whole COVID thing kind of made it hard to like find opportunities and whatnot during the spring and summer just because of, a lot of places weren't taking interns or weren't taking, applications for stuff because they wanted to keep, either they were closed down because of the pandemic or they were, not wanting to take anybody new in just yet because, who knows what could happen if like someone comes in with COVID and starts infecting everybody. So, but I guess if I had to pick what I want to do, I want to do something along the lines of I'm really into like gathering just physical human, like, humans' opinions and data on stuff that they like and want. And there's a lot of the world runs on data these days, like data science, and how do we use this to better our company, really, or in the case of the political world, like how do we use this to, what strategy are we going to take? Where do we need to go? Where is the voting blocks? Where are the people that I need to get the attention of, and what issues do these people care about? So, and even if it's not, political related, just anything else, just to do with data and planning out what you're going to do stuff. Like I know my dad used to work for a company that they actually would analyze people's web browsing data. And, when you're going on the internet and you see those ads on the sides of your computer, that's what that company did, was they made those advertisements based on what people searched and what their interests were. So anything to do with that, I mean, like Zach said, I'll take anything at this point, given, the whole COVID situation and how hard that's made everything, unfortunately, for those of us that are about to graduate college and looking for opportunities. So, yeah, just anything like that, really. And in the field of data science would be where I want to go with my life after college. So what about Nate? What do you want to do after college?
All right, so I'll give you a little bit of background on me too. So I'm going to my senior year at UCF. I'm studying marketing and minoring in sports business. And right now, I'm planning on going to law school afterwards. So I'll graduate this year, and I took the LSAT, which is like the entry level exam or whatever, standardized test, and then I'm gonna apply this fall. So I'll be in law school for 3 more years after this, and then hopefully I'm planning to work somewhere in like business law, contracts, or like um, intellectual property or something in that kind of area. I'm not 100% sure yet, but hoping to figure that out once I get into the actual law school and learning about all that. So, yeah, 3 more. Um, I guess it's kind of lucky. I'm not gonna have to go look for a job right away in this whole environment going on, but got another 3 years of school afterwards, so we'll be busy with that.
Yeah.
Law school, no doubt too. That's gonna be busy.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a listen here to see what Connor's questions are.
All right. So I guess my first question for everybody is, obviously we're all big sports fans here, and we all have different teams that we like. But I think one of the most interesting things about sports is that every now and then, I don't know if this is going to be the case with you three, but every now and then, your favorite athlete of all time sometimes doesn't end up playing for your favorite team. So I wanted to ask all three of you who your favorite athlete is of all time and why they're your favorite. So I guess I'll start with Zach.
All right, so I'll answer first here. Who it's going to be for me is going to be Maurice Jones-Drew, longtime Jaguar running back, has a lot of Jaguar records for touchdowns as one of them, but really he was significant for me and is my favorite athlete because he was he was their best player for so long. And the Jaguars really didn't have a whole lot of great players by the time I started watching football because their glory days in the 90s had passed when I came on the scene. So, so really there were some tough times, but I still, I'm a loyal fan. Everybody knows that. And he was by far the best player. And another thing about him that I really appreciate and stuff too is sometimes your favorite athlete on your favorite team kind of goes away once they retire and you never really see from them again. But since Maurice Jones-Drew's retired, he's been working on the NFL Network, and it seems like half the time I turn the NFL Network on or I see clips on Facebook or the internet, it's about Maurice Jones-Drew talking about the Jags, and there's really not many sports national media sites that talk about the Jaguars, and he's always, he's a homer. Obviously, he picks them to win every game, basically, and stuff. But it's just really cool to have, and he's basically the spokesman for the Jaguars in the national media, which is really nice. So he was definitely my favorite athlete to watch. I mean, his run style was cool too. Such a short guy, but built like a tree. So yeah, it's going to be Maurice Jones-Drew for me. Eric, what about you?
Yeah, he would be one I would consider for sure. But for favorite all-time athlete, I'd have to go with Michael Jordan. I mean, I've always loved sports since I was a kid, but he was the first person that I just really remember watching play in a sport and just watching the way he could take over games, the way he would hit clutch shots in the playoffs, like watching him play through the flu game and just all different kinds of things like that. That was what made me want to watch basketball, because I grew up with football, but I didn't really watch basketball a whole lot. But every time the Bulls played and I saw Michael Jordan, I was just glued to the television. I loved watching him play, and he's obviously still in my opinion, the greatest of all time in basketball. There's a reason why I drafted him in our 2 different fantasy draft things that we did together. So for me, no doubt, Michael Jordan. Nate, how about you, man?
Nate, you there?
Oh, there you go. Sorry. Yes. So I'm kind of an obvious selection. I think I got to go with Tom Brady here. It's kind of obvious, but he's been the quarterback of my favorite team since, or obviously not this year now, but basically for the first 20 years I've been watching sports. He's been the quarterback, so got to go with him as my favorite player. Yeah, that's not a whole lot more to add there, I guess.
Shocker there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was most confident that was going to be Nate's answer to that question.
Yeah.
So Nate, we'll stick with you. Present us with your first question.
All right, so this goes out to everybody. You can kind of answer in order, I guess. But what is your favorite game or sporting event that you attended live? So I guess we can start with Zach.
Okay, yeah. So I know my answer to this one, but I'll just say a close. What could have been second would have been the War on I-4 2017. Man, how did we let
Oh
that
yeah.
kickoff return for a touchdown? How did we let that happen? Because because that game was so much fun to be at, even though we lost.
Well, that's what's question. Would that have been your number one had they won that game?
I think it probably would have been. It probably would have been my number one if they had won the game. But my number one is going to be a game another honorable finish is the Jacksonville Sharks game that Eric.
Oh yeah, that was awesome, dude.
Oh, yeah.
My goodness,
crazy ending to that game. I won't go through it all because we got to stay on topic. But that's an honorable finish. You guys know what I'm talking about. But my favorite game that I've been to live was the Jaguars Bills 2017 wild card game. It was definitely not a fun game to watch as far as offense and stuff because the final score was like 10-3, but it was just a perfect atmosphere. I mean, the Bills brought their fans, and we were sitting in the pretty heavy Bills fan section, so you had that going on. And it was such a close, even though it wasn't a high scoring game, it was close. It was within one possession for every team the whole game. And the Jags were able to win, and the way that they won too, with the interception by Ramsey at the end of the game, that was just like an unreal moment. It would have been one thing if it was just like, sometimes the team just chews out the clock, they just get a first down and win, but to get like a game sealing interception like that was crazy, and everybody was going crazy. And it was definitely, out of all the Jags games I've been to, it was by far it had the most people. It was just the best atmosphere in general. The weather was cold out, so it wasn't blazing sun. It felt like a playoff game. So that was so much fun to be at. So that's my favorite event. Eric, what about you?
Yeah, so I am also going to go with a Jaguars game here. This is way back in their glory days in the 90s. Connor's not going to like this one, but I got to go. My parents were season ticket holders, so we went to almost all the games. And there was this one year where the Jaguars had made a terrible decision to play Mark Brunell like into like the fourth quarter of a preseason game, and he got hurt, and it was like we were on pins and needles if he was ever going to come back. And I guess he came back quicker than expected, and it was like week 3 or 4 of the season, and it was a Monday night game against the Steelers, and Brunell came back that game. And of course, with it being a Monday night game, I mean, the stadium was jam packed, and I'll never forget that moment when they were announcing the starting lineups, and when Mark Brunell came out, I mean, I don't know how I didn't go deaf. It got so loud in that stadium. I mean, it was just, I get chills. Like, I get chills every time I think about it. And then just to make it even crazier, the Steelers were going down to try to kick a game-winning field goal at the end of the game, and it got blocked, and one of our safeties, Chris Hudson, scooped it up and ran it back for a touchdown. And I remember, like, there was an infamous moment, like, where what happened to Zach in a Madden game where like somehow the coach was like glitched out on the field.
Oh,
Bill Cowher like
That's what I was going to ask you. Was that the game where Bill Cowher was like on the field?
Yeah, he kind of like kicked his leg out. It didn't really come close to him, but still, like he wanted to just stick his leg out and trip Chris Hudson. You could tell he was so mad that they had lost. I mean, it was just a all around great moment. If I had to do like an honorable second mention, it would be when we destroyed the Dolphins 62-7 in that 99 playoff game. That was probably my favorite game in terms of just a pure beatdown. But that moment, though, when Brunell came out after his injury and the fans erupted, and the way they won that game at the end was just so crazy. Like I just have to pick that.
All right, well, I guess obviously I'm gonna buck the trend here and not pick a Jacksonville Jaguars game. But I guess if I had to do a couple of honorable mentions, obviously that Jacksonville Sharks game would be an honorable mention. I mean, the way that ended, like how close it was, and obviously if anybody knows arena football, they know how high scoring it is, and the 53-yard field goal at the end to win the game by the Sharks was unreal, especially in arena football with the goalpost being so thin. My other honorable mention would probably be going to the Gator, like Eric and Zach will remember this too. Yeah. Going to the Gator Bowl at the Jaguars Stadium with the between Tennessee and Iowa, and Tennessee just romped Iowa in that game. That was great. And also the fact that the entire stadium was like all Tennessee fans. Like there was just a small section somewhere of like Iowa fans, but the rest of the stadium was just orange and white. You could see for all around. So that was pretty fun. Obviously, but if I had to go with my favorite, this is probably, I guess if I had to say, I thought this was maybe a tie, but I guess maybe an honorable mention would be last year's Sun Belt title game between App State and Louisiana, but probably my favorite would be the first Sun Belt title game between App State and Louisiana, just because it was the inaugural Sun Belt title game, and, it had never happened before, and it was being held at App State Stadium. And I thought it was really funny because obviously since it was being held at our stadium, they had to cover up all of our banners and everything to make it like somewhat of a neutral site. All of our like previous, Sun Belt champion and bowl, winner banners were all covered up. And although it was still funny how they didn't change the center field logo, so the 50-yard line logo was still our logo.
Wow.
That was pretty funny, and the fact it was pouring. I remember I got there like 2 hours early because I guess I don't know if it's the same for Zach since they hold USF games at Raymond James Stadium, but I don't know, and I don't know for Nate either. But at our games, like students get in for free, but it's open seating, so you gotta find what seat you want. And, it's like the whole lower first row on App State sideline is open seating, so. So I got there 2 hours early anticipating that a lot of people are going to come to this game because it's the title game, the conference title game. Well, it was pouring down rain and I got there 2 hours early, but since it was pouring down rain, there was nobody there at all, like hardly anybody. So I ended up just like sitting in the rain with my friend for like 2 hours waiting for this game to start. Gosh. Well, thankfully I it was pouring rain when we got there. So I had come prepared for wet weather. He didn't, unfortunately, even though I told him it was going to rain. I was like, bro, it's going to rain. He's like, oh no, I'll be fine. And yeah, he got pretty soaked, but just the way the crowd was obviously super into it. I mean, when you're in the student section, that's like one of the loudest areas of any stadium you can be in, no matter how big or small the stadium is. And then just the way that when App State won the game and clinched it, the fan, all the students, everybody just rushed the field. That's the first time I'd been down on that field because every other time I've been there, they're doing something and they've got it blocked off or whatever. But we all rushed the field and was on the field for the trophy presentation. And, it was televised. So, if you could have, there's no way you would have picked me out on there, but, on TV, woo. And that's the thing, because obviously last year it was the same thing, but I think it was just more special the first time because the second time we all knew it was going to happen if we won the game. We were all going to rush the field again and woo, we won again. But the first time it was more, and a lot of the students were chanting to take the goalpost down, but there was a whole team of security guards over by the goalpost, so that wasn't going to happen. And then also, like last year, they had a message saying like, "Oh, don't go down on the field until both teams get off the field." But that didn't happen. Like as soon as the game ended, it didn't matter that Louisiana was still on the field. We were all down there already. So, but yeah, probably the first Sun Belt title game between App State and Louisiana. That was probably my favorite.
Cool stuff. And now we're gonna loop it back around to my questions. All right, so I asked my sports ones first. Now I'm gonna ask the non-sports questions to everybody. They're all different. Eric, I'll start with you though. If you'll remember, I asked you about in episode 50, what would be your next type of podcast that you would want to make, and you actually went out and made that with Baller on a Budget, now an established podcast. So gotta ask it again now. If you were, I doubt this will happen, but if you were to make or join a third podcast, what would it be and why?
Yeah, so definitely don't have any plans to make another podcast, but I am very happy with how Baller on a Budget has been going. But if I was gonna be a part of a third podcast, I would probably want to join some type of gaming podcast. Since I do play a good amount of video games, that would probably be one I would enjoy doing. So, Alan, if you're listening to this and you want to make a gaming podcast, I'll join your show sometime.
Hey man, that could be an idea that you and I could do too. Like I'd be down with that.
Sure. Yeah, Connor, if you want to make a gaming podcast, we'll talk some Fall Guys or something, or latest game we've been playing. Yeah, or whatever. So that
Fall Guys and how frustrating it is.
How fun it is, but how frustrating it is at the same time. But that's how they hook you, man. But yeah, that would be the direction I would pursue if I was gonna do something like that again. I wouldn't mind talking some gaming sometime.
Okay, cool stuff. We'll see if it ends up happening. Never know.
Never know.
All right, so Connor, my question to you is gonna be, I want you to build a 5-band music festival concert with 5 different acts. Could be any band, any singer from any era. They could be deceased. It's really up to you here. So, what would be your 5 bands or singers for this epic show?
Yeah, that's a really tough one.
I know,
because I don't want to just do like my 5 favorite bands, because like I feel like if we're gonna do a whole festival, there's got to be a little bit of variety in the music. So, but for me, it would still be all rock music, but there's definitely a lot of variety when it comes within rock music. So, I would be remiss if I didn't have Kiss there. Kiss is a given; they have to be there. Obviously, I would prefer them in their prime. It wouldn't have to be like Ace Frehley and Peter Criss with Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, but if we're going to take like the current lineup, then maybe like the early 2000s when they were a little bit younger and could still move around a little bit more than they can now when they're in their mid 60s. So Kiss for sure. I definitely want to have Disturbed there. I recently started getting into them a couple of years ago. And I just love their music. Kayla actually my girlfriend loves them too. She really likes the lead singer. She likes how he can he's just got such a unique voice and he can change it so well. Like, he can be singing very softly and then all of a sudden switch to that, really heavy metal like vocals. So Kiss and Disturbed would be 2. I'd want to have Led Zeppelin there. I know they haven't performed since the early 70s. Or like kind of the mid 70s as around when they retired. But I'd want to have Led Zeppelin there. They're probably like the original hard rock band. They kind of set the stage for a lot of other people to do what they do now. And, you hear their influence in almost everything. Then now's when it gets tough, because those 3 were like my, for sure I want those 3. But now I guess I'd probably do AC/DC as number 4. Kiss is my favorite band now, but growing up, AC/DC was kind of like my favorite then. They're still like in my top 3, but when I was growing up, they were my favorite. So I guess I'd have AC/DC there. And then if I want to throw like a little bit of a different music style in there, I'd probably pick this is a really tough one between. I guess I'd go with Queen. Just I was kind of debating between Queen and the Eagles, but Queen, Freddie Mercury is ridiculously good, and they were some of the best live performers you'll ever see. And if you just go back and watch some of their old live shows, I mean, you'd be amazed at the things that they did and what they were able to sound like even when they were live. So there we go. It's gonna be Kiss, Queen, Disturbed, AC/DC, and Led Zeppelin.
And as long as you don't charge $1,000, I'm going.
Well, I gotta pay them something.
Yeah. All right, Nate. My final question to you is gonna be: I know you go to UCF, but you've also been to USF a number of times, so you've had a feel of both campuses, how they're like. Just give an honest comparison between the two. It can be how you feel about them, students, what they're doing, and just compare and then summarize and give us which one you actually prefer.
All right, yeah. So, like Zach said, obviously I go to UCF, so been there for 3 years, so I pretty much know the campus inside and out. Obviously, and I've been to USF a couple of times to visit Zach, and my younger brother took a tour there. So definitely have a good feel for that too. They're both nice schools. I would say they're a lot of the buildings there on both of them are relatively new. There's always construction going on because they keep getting more students and expanding and all that. So definitely nice infrastructure and everything at both. Yeah, it's hard for me to kind of speak on the whole environment at USF, I guess, just because I haven't really spent a whole lot of time there, during the school year. But UCF definitely has a pretty nice vibe. There's at least there's a 60,000 student enrollment, but I would say it's probably closer to 45 that are actually on campus. So you have kind of pretty much there's kind of people for every interest group there, so you're pretty much bound to meet people that you'll get along with, and there's always stuff to do, so that's really nice. Yeah, so I don't know. Both got good sports teams. I'll say that. They've definitely kind of coming along. UCF has been nice since I've been there. They've really taken off, especially in football. They had that good year in basketball, and USF isn't too far behind with, they were getting up there in football, and then they had a setback with Strong, but I think they're on the right track as well. So I would say definitely not necessarily household names. I would say nationally in either academics or sports just yet, but I would say I think within the next few years definitely gonna be a pretty big deal. So really can't go wrong with either one. I know they're rivals and everything, but I would say I don't really obviously hate USF some other rivalries out there Alabama and Auburn and anything like that. But yeah, it's two pretty nice schools, I would say.
Okay. All right. Good answer there. We're going to go now to Eric's.
Not taking one side or the other.
staying politically correct.
Yeah.
All right. Eric, read us off your next questions.
All right. So I've got individual questions here now. And so, Zach, so for you being the creator and lead host of Clutch Crew Sports, now that we've recently had our 1-year episode, where would you like to see Clutch Crew Sports be at by the time year 2 is over?
All right. So this is it's a tough question to answer because I really haven't thought that far ahead. We keep a calendar, but usually it's only a month ahead. But as far as the general stats go, listenership, Twitter followers, interactions, all the sort of stuff that you can quantify, I would say I want to see it doubled by year 2. So that goes for all that stuff. I would hope that by the end of year 2, where we're at, a couple months ago when we finished our first year, is going to be grown by twofold. And then so that's the stats answer. But as far as the actual recording process and everything like that, honestly, I just want to keep it the same. Like the four of us have had a really good run together. So if the four of us are still together doing these podcasts every week, I'd be happy with that. So
Cool,
that's
man.
my answer. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So you don't want to kick me out or anything. That's good. Okay.
It's like, just making sure.
Okay. Awesome. So Connors, we kind of mentioned we talked gaming a little bit earlier. So with the Xbox Series X and the PS5 getting ready to come out, I want to know if you've decided on, which one you want to get, and then if you have decided on which one you want to get, do you want to get one right away or do you want to wait a little while? So just give us your analysis here on the gaming world. What should gamers do? What's the best decision to make?
Well, I guess I'll start with definitely that I'm not going to get either one when they come out, just because like $500 is quite a steep price to pay for a gaming console. Like, I know obviously, some of my gaming consoles have lasted me, 15 years. Like, I still have my original Xbox and my PlayStation 1, but still not willing to pay $500. Like, if I had the money to spare for that, which I know there are people out there that do, then yeah, I probably would buy it. But I think there's also a little bit of an advantage to waiting. One, obviously the price is going to go down. Like, the kind of standard console price these days is $300. So if you wait like 6 months to a year, then it'll probably go down to that. And also, if there's any bugs that are like, in the consoles, like obviously the most infamous one is probably the Xbox 360 with the red ring of death, all the issues that it had when it first launched, all those people like me that kind of waited like a year or a year and a half later to get the new version of the Xbox 360. Like, I've never once gotten the red ring of death on my Xbox 360. So, knock on wood, because hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, it's definitely I'm going to definitely wait. And I'm definitely also have decided that I'm going to get a PS5. But originally in my head, I was thinking, there's no way I'm going to buy the Xbox Series X. Like, it just doesn't look, if I want to get a new, like, the only Xbox exclusive game that I'm really into is Gears of War. But, if they come out with another one, then I'll just get it on the PC, like, if I have to. But I was saying this before the podcast, that there has been some news that's come out that might possibly change my mind on getting an Xbox Series X in addition to the PS5, because I can't remember the name of the parent company or whatever, but basically Warner Brothers Studios, like the ones who make Mortal Kombat and like the Batman games and some of those other games, they're actually like getting sold. And so I can't remember who it was that was talking about buying them, but there was rumors and there was some news that Microsoft was actually like kind of throwing their hat in the ring, like, oh, well, we'll buy them up. Which obviously, if that happens, then Mortal Kombat and any of the future Batman games that come out, if they make them, are going to be Xbox exclusives. Which those are two of like my favorite game series. It was different when there was just Gears of War, and now if that's going to be a reality, then there's going to be 3 game series that are going to be Xbox exclusives. So, if Microsoft does end up buying Warner Brothers Interactive, then there's a good chance I'll probably get both. If that doesn't happen, then I'm just going to buy a PS5 because I can just get Gears of War 6 on the PC, and there's nothing else that the Xbox Series X really has, in my opinion, to put it toe-to-toe with the PS5, especially mostly when it comes to the games. Like, the PlayStation just has so many more exclusive games to, use and have fun with. I mean, if you've seen the sales between the PS4 and the Xbox One, I don't think there's going to be that big of a difference, like that large of a difference between these two in sales like there was for the 8th generation consoles, but I still think the PS5 is probably superior. So yeah.
Okay, so before I go to Nate's question, which console looks worse and why?
I mean, I can't believe I just can't get over how big the PS5 is. Like, I mean, I thought the Xbox One and like the original Xbox and those were big, but the PS5 is even bigger. Like, I have no idea why it's so big. At least with the Xbox Series X, like, it's kind of compact and you can take it with you. So I am probably actually on the side of the Xbox in terms of size for this, just because the PS5 is so ridiculously big. Like, I don't know why it needed to be that big, but I gotta find a place to put it now. Like, I thought I didn't have room for my Xboxes. Now I'm not gonna have room for that.
Yeah, I personally think they both look terrible, but we'll move on here. So, Nate, this is a good problem for you to have here. Obviously, with the Patriots of winning 6 Super Bowls, a lot of people debate on whether Tom Brady is great because of Bill Belichick's system, or other people argue that Brady's great and that's made Belichick look good. So, as a Pats fan, where do you stand on this? Like, which side do you lean towards more? Settle this debate for us.
All right, so this is definitely like a good question. It's definitely one that obviously people have talked about for a while. I think it's gonna be interesting this year because I think we'll definitely get some more like definitive answers towards it. We'll see obviously how Brady does with a different coach and system around him. We'll see how Belichick does with a full season of a different quarterback. But I think I'm gonna do my best to pick a side here because I think it's definitely a little bit of both. But I would say be more of if I had to choose, I'd say it's more of Brady was good on his own, I guess. I think there's a lot of the talk about him being a system quarterback, and he definitely played for a great coach in Belichick, and he's had great offensive coordinators, especially like Josh McDaniels for most of his career, so it definitely has helped him. But I think he would still be, if he was on any other team in the league, that obviously gave him a chance to start back in the early 2000s. If he had played for any other system, I think he would have been just as good statistically, maybe not the Super Bowls, but I think he definitely would have been a Pro Bowl quarterback still, just because the intangibles he has. He had definitely, if you go back and watch some of those old games, he had underrated arm strength and all that early on in his career. I don't think he gets enough credit for that, and just the mind he has for breaking down defenses and the preparation and the clutch gene, I guess, that you can't really train for. All that, I think he would have been good anywhere else with or without Belichick, and I think he's going to do very well this season in Tampa. But I don't think that takes away from Belichick either. He's had a great system around Brady as far as the free agent pickups and draft picks and all of that stuff, which helped him get the 6 Super Bowl wins. So a little bit of both, but I would definitely say Brady's great on his own, not just because of Belichick. So hopefully that kind of answers the question. I tried to take a side there.
Yep. All right. So let's go to Connor's last 3 questions here.
All right. So same as Eric, I've got some individual questions here. So first for Zach, since kind of like what Eric said before, since you are the creator and the lead host, my question is a bit of a unique one. If Clutch Crew Sports was a business or like a big time podcast business and you were the CEO, what would the rest of us, like, what would our roles be?
Yeah, so I really like this question because, it's unique and I never thought about it, but, on the off chance this happens, this is how it'll play out. So I'll start with Eric's roles first. I know Eric is a big money guy. I mean, obviously he has a Baller on a Budget podcast. So for the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, I think that's what it is. That's going to be Eric's job. Eric, you're going to be responsible for the revenue that we make. Just totally be. I trust you too. You're family, so so I know you're not gonna. No, you're not going to be like some people.
Like a screw Zach out of his money.
Yeah. For
sure.
Sure.
So you're going to be in charge of the finances and just all of our expenses that we end up acquiring and what kind of profits we make. You're going to be kind of that guy. I'll go to Connor's roles next because I've got 2 for Connor now. The one originally that I had coming into this is Connor is going to be in charge of hiring. So this business is not just going to be the four of us. We're going to have, tech people and all different. I don't know what the major podcasts do, but I know that they have a whole team, sound people, music people for intro music and outro music and stuff like that. But I think Connor would be a good interviewer. I trust his decision making, and it seems like a lot of times that we have interactions with other people, even on this small scale, he's got a good sense of who's legit, who to stay away from. I'm not going to name any names, but
let's not do that.
But no, I trust him to do that sort of stuff. And then also too, if we were to have more hosts, because we'd have unique special podcasts for like football and basketball, baseball, hockey, all the big sports. Connor is the Sports Jeopardy winner the most, so he knows his sports the most. So I feel like he would be the best one to pick out the talent for other offshoot podcasts of Clutch Crew Sports. I mean, obviously, we'd still have the four of us on, but we'd probably have offshoot podcasts under our tree. And I think Connor would have a good feel for who the best host for that would be. So I'd leave that up to him. And then another role that I just learned about from the earlier questions is the data guy. I mean, advertising, that's what you're going to college for. All those skills to get more listeners for us, to get more subscribers, anything like that. You're going to be like our guy for that. So don't know what the role for that would be, but that would be another job for you to do.
So as the CFO, am I going to have to pay Connor double for doing two duties?
No. That's where Nate comes in, because Nate's going to be the legal man in charge of any legal problems or copyrights or
intellectual lawsuits heading our way.
Intellectual properties, anything like that. We don't want to do something and accidentally get sued for it. So Nate, you'll be our man for that. And then also, too, Nate, you're going to be the social media man, because you've put out some banger tweets in the past. You hit the algorithm right on Twitter sometimes. And you do just have
lucky a couple times.
Yeah, you do just have a good Twitter presence, in my opinion, out of the four of us. So those will be your roles. Eric will definitely, I will come up with some more roles for you. Maybe I'll tell you that off the podcast, but for right now, your big ones.
That's fine. Money is important, but yeah, that's good though for Nate, because if Zach starts bashing Kyle Lowry too hard and he tries to sue us or something, we need Nate to help out.
Like, no, freedom of speech. He could say that.
True. Yeah. So that's how the business will be formed.
Very, very cool. Very cool. I did not anticipate me being in charge of hiring, but I think that's pretty neat. I think I could do that job. All right, so for Eric, obviously your baller on a budget podcast has been mentioned a lot on this Q&A episode so far. So I know you talk a lot about stocks and investing. So what is the best investment decision you've ever made?
Yeah, well, Zach is definitely gonna like this answer. Surprising. I mean, I've had some stocks and stuff that are doing pretty well for me lately. Now that, obviously we still have the COVID problem, but ever since the market plummeted, stocks have been going back up and recovering, and I've had some good investments from that. But as of right now, my best investment that I have, though, has been in Bitcoin. I only bought in just a week or two ago, probably 2 weeks now, and I'm up almost 23% right now, which is a pretty, if you know anything about stocks, that's a great rate of return, especially that fast. So I'm very happy about that. And I know Zach's been. We will have a special trilogy series coming out again, like we did with the stocks, where Zach and I talk about crypto and stuff like that. So I'm pretty new to the crypto game, but Bitcoin is working out pretty well for me so far. So I'm glad Zach started talking about it, and that led to me getting it. So yeah, right now my best investment is Bitcoin.
Well, I was actually, Eric, sorry, Nate, for before your question, but I thought your answer was going to be to start investing, because a
Well,
lot of
yeah,
people
true.
don't even do that. You know, the
That's
best
true.
decision is to start it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's definitely something you should do if you're not doing it, especially with if you pay attention to your banks. Like, most banks are basically paying 0% interest. Even the ones that are typically more high yield are paying less. So I'm starting to consider pulling some of my money, some of my excess money, like out of my savings accounts, and invest that too, because I'm making barely anything on it. So yeah, it's a good way to go. So if you're listening to this, check out Baller on a Budget. Zach and I have a 3-part episode on how to start investing, so definitely look into that. But yeah, that it's definitely been a good thing, because I've had some losses in the beginning, and I had some losses from COVID, but since then everything's been going really well, and I've got a lot of stocks that I'm up over 15% on, and some that I'm like 5 to 10% on, and then the Bitcoin at 23%. So I've had a lot of recent success, and if I hadn't started investing, obviously I wouldn't have it, where I'm at.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
and
yeah.
that again was because of Zach too. When Zach started talking about Robinhood, and it was this free app, and I had been really intrigued by it, because most companies charge like $5 every time you do a transaction. I'm like, okay, if I'm only spending $50 at a time, I can't afford to pay that every time. So when Zach told me about this free app on Robinhood, I was like, okay, I'm interested. So,
Yeah.
so I have Zach to thank for all that.
Well, for sure. I mean, I can definitely be a part of the train to, like, tell people to invest, because I know, like, investing in Amazon and investing in Beyond Meat has been okay, but definitely investing in Amazon for me is really, like, helped a lot. I mean, it does kind of suck. Like, you have moments that you wish you could go back on. Like, I know if I had just waited like 2 weeks to buy a share of Amazon stock, then I would have been able to get it for 1,400 rather than 1,900. And then obviously right now it's up around 3,100. So, like, my return would have been even greater. But still, I mean, to go from 1,900 to 3,100 is pretty good. So definitely, everybody out there, if you're not investing, I will be another voice to do it, because can do some good things for you.
Yeah, and especially too if you're a young college age student like these three guys are. Like, if you can invest at a young age, then it'll just be even better for you by the time you're at more of a retirement age. Like, don't wait to start till you're 31 like I did. So
right. All right.
Yeah.
So, a question for Nate. So, I know I was talking to Zach, and I was, trying to find a non-sports question for you. So, Zach told me that you're into fishing, and to some people, fishing is a sport, but to most people, it's a leisure activity. So, what's your best fishing memory?
I would definitely agree.
Yeah, like maybe like the biggest fish you've ever caught, or something along those lines.
Yeah, so I don't know, I'd say not necessarily the biggest fish I've ever caught, but went out to Colorado for a family trip a couple years back, and we went fly fishing out in rivers out there, which was a really cool experience. The trout are not super big in those rivers, but they're definitely pretty tricky to catch. You gotta really come with the right style of like lure and present it well to them, and they're surprisingly smart fish. They know, like, they can kind of tell, I guess, when you're not doing it right. So it takes patience and all that. So we got a few fish, little ones, like nothing crazy, but it was just fun to be out there, and the scenery out there is crazy, just to be out there in the mountains and the streams and all that. So definitely a place I'd like to get back to as well. So obviously that's probably the best memory I've had fishing. I've caught, bigger fish out in the ocean, like Florida obviously is great for that. Got big fish all around here, so I've had a lot of fun doing it throughout the years, but I definitely would like to get back out west and do some more fishing out there sometime soon.
Cool.
Yeah. I was actually listening to an outdoor show the other day, and they were talking about fishing, and they were saying, some of these fish are hook smart. So it sounds like you had some hook smart fish when you were fishing there.
Yep.
All right. So
For
Nate,
sure.
we'll go now to your final question here.
All right. So yeah, this is another question for everybody. So we'll just go in the same order, I guess. But if you had to live in an NBA style bubble or like quarantine or whatever, if you had to live in that kind of environment for a month or two, like what the NBA players are having to do right now, if you had to live there with three athletes, could be active or retired, who would they be? So we'll start with Zach again.
Okay, so for my answer, I am gonna pick three NBA players. For my answer, my first one is gonna be a retired player. I'm gonna pick Michael Jordan. I'll explain why. My second one is my second and third ones are both current NBA players, but I'll go Damian Lillard second, and third I'm gonna go Grant Williams. So let me get into my whole reasoning for this. I'll go with Grant first. If anybody knows Grant Williams, he's a big Catan fan, and when you're quarantined, board games are going to be really fun. He is. I've seen his social media. He loves Catan. So me, Grant playing Catan, and whenever you gamble, Michael Jordan's right there to play. So even if he's never played before, I have no doubt that Mike is going to want to get in on that action, and Dame as well. I'm sure Dame would play with us, but so Dame, obviously, he's my favorite current NBA player. So just being around him, getting to talk to him would be just amazing. Shooting hoops with him, watching him, I could watch him make like a half court shot in person would be crazy. Um, he also does rap music too, so you get that benefit also. I'm not a big rap fan, but if it's Dame, I'm all about it. He's got good music. And then Michael Jordan too would be cool because, if it's a bubble, you'd have access to a basketball court or something, hopefully. So just getting to watch Jordan play. And then I would want to do a 2v2 match with me and Jordan against Prime Jordan too. I want that to be known, but Prime Jordan and obviously Lillard and Grant Williams. I want to do 2v2, me and Mike versus Grant and Damian Lillard. I want to see if Mike can really carry us.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, you need him to carry you.
Yeah, that'd be fun. But no, I mean, I feel like I'd get so much better at basketball being around all three of those guys, especially Jordan too, being the GOAT. He could help me a lot with basketball. Dame would be just fun to be with. Grant, he's a Tennessee Volunteer too, so we have that in common. And he's just a cool person as well. So those are going to be my three guys. So I'm going to be living with.
All right, so
then yeah.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Oh yeah, sorry. No, go ahead.
I'm gonna echo Zach here with Michael Jordan. Obviously, I mentioned before with him being my favorite athlete of all time. Obviously, I would have to live with Michael Jordan. I wouldn't necessarily care about playing basketball, so Zach can have prime Jordan, and then I'll just take current age Jordan.
He'd probably still be pretty good though.
Yeah, and then another one, another athlete, as I mentioned earlier in this podcast too, my favorite quarterback and football player, right now, really of all time, is Drew Brees. So I would love to be in a quarantine with those two guys, just because with both of them, I could just put on some basketball film and put on some NFL film and just listen to them like analyze it and break it down. I feel like that would be able to kill a lot of time during the quarantine, and I could learn a lot of information from watching them talk about it. So I would pick those two for that reason. And then I was really debating on who my third one would be. I kind of wanted to go more of a random off the wall one here, and so for my third one, I'm gonna go with Jaguars kicker Josh Lambo. As Connor
Not Josh Scobie.
Well, I mean, honestly, he's cool too. It'd be tough to pick, but I guess just with Lambo being the current one, he just, from what I've seen of him in interviews and just his personality, just seems to be really cool. Like, I feel like he would be a super fun guy to hang out with. That's obviously why I didn't pick Kawhi Leonard. I almost let off like I'm a fun guy. I would pick Kawhi, but yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I thought about it. I thought about Kawhi Leonard making a presence here, but he was he's playing in the playoffs right now. He's too busy. But yeah, Josh Lambo. I feel like while that's a really odd pick, he just kind of came in my mind, and I don't know, it felt right. So yeah, those are my 3 picks, and Connor, I'll let you round out with your 3 picks here.
Okay, so I guess I'll complete the trifecta, and I will also pick Michael Jordan. I don't see how you can go wrong like hanging out with Michael Jordan. Also, something that I have in common with him is that he went to UNC. He's from North Carolina. He owns the Charlotte Hornets. Can't be anything better right there. More of a comparison between Michael Jordan and me, other than the fact that he's like a superstar athlete and whatnot. But so yeah, I go with Michael Jordan. Then I would go with Juju Smith-Schuster. He's a really fun-loving player in the NFL. I mean, also I like the fact that he's 23 years old, so he's only a year older than I am. Being around the same age and most likely having similar interests, like growing up with the same stuff and everything. I feel like Juju would be a lot of fun. I mean, he posts a lot of fun things on Twitter and Instagram of what he's doing, and the Steelers community absolutely loves him. So definitely Juju.
What about that dance that he did or whatever?
yeah, right. No comment. But yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster, and then probably my third one, I think, would probably, going back to the NBA, would probably be Anthony Davis. He's another one of those athletes that just like Stefan, and I know he's a huge gamer too, so we could have a lot of fun playing NBA 2K and other stuff like that. So, and then just the same thing, like what Zach and Eric, or what Eric was talking about, just you could just put on anything sports related, and a lot of my friends that I have had, they might be huge gamers and stuff, but I've never really had too many friends that have really into sports. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before in one of the previous Q&As, but being around other people that really like sports, I think would be probably a big thing in quarantine, because I feel like in a way, like video games and board games in a way, yeah, they're really fun and everything, but I think they get old faster than sports does, because there's just so much you can go through with sports, and even though they're basketball and football players, I'm sure they're probably into other sports too. So we could talk about hockey or baseball or something else like that. So I think those would be the 3 athletes I do. I will say that had it not been for what happened earlier this year, I probably would have said Kobe Bryant, but obviously, rest in peace, Kobe. So, but yeah, definitely the other 3 would be my choices for quarantine.
Cool stuff. And that's going to wrap it up, guys. We're finishing our Q&A right here. Great questions, everybody. Had a lot of fun with these. I hope mine were good for you guys as well, but I had a lot of fun. Again, these Q&As are great, man.
Yeah. Hopefully the listeners learned even more about us that they didn't know.
Yeah, and I know too. We also have had a lot of new fans, the past couple months that didn't hear the 50th Q&A. So this one is also another good option to get to know who we actually are. So hopefully you guys hopefully everybody enjoyed that, and we'll be back here on 100 more to talk about the 200 for a Q&A. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys. Until then, remember, be clutch.
Bye.
See ya.
Oh, peace.
All right.
Blooper at the end there.